All right, 10 o'clock. All right, it's official. We're getting ready to start our April edition of our April 2020 edition of our EdTech Leaders CIOs webcast. We're here at the Lexington Center, Central Bank Center in Lexington and Rupp Arena. Good part of our staff is here, and then we have part of our staff that are remote. Obviously, we have districts. We also have some district staff that are here and watching. You see Marianne Rankin from the back. We have Bruce Lindsay and Charlotte, Linda Burton, Lee Muncie, Dita Connor, got Chuck Austin looking at Go Soapbox, Marty Park, and I'm David Couch. So thanks for joining us this month. We have a list of topics there. We've sent you the Go Soapbox questions in advance, and so I think that's open now. So you can go ahead and
they're open
and respond to that, and we'll be looking through that, and we'll address them. We'll show those responses a little bit later in our discussion. But first, we're going to start out with our STLP State Championship, which is tomorrow, my favorite work day of the year, which is only second to the KIST Conference and, of course, these monthly events. But definitely my favorite work day of the year. It demonstrates that's where we see students using technology in a lot of different ways for learning, demonstrates the added value of technology to the learning process and just what students can do to help their fellow students and to help their school and help their community. So it's a win-win type of thing. A fun event. Got a few people showing up this year. And I don't know if this is the biggest ever, but it's maybe the biggest ever, most buses ever kind of event. Not to make anyone nervous. I need to knock on wood about the number of folks that we have here. But I sent you last week some information about the event, into a wide audience, and encourage those that can make it here. Once you see this, you see why this is so special and why it's continued to grow after all these years. This is the what year number are we on? 24, 25, 29. I think it's 29 years. 29. Next year will be the 30th year, and began it in 1994. So we have a variety of folks that we may pan to them that are bringing stuff in from the truck.
We're unloading right now as we speak.
Yeah. Disney on Ice is no longer there. I went and looked at the arena floor. Disney on Ice was there just, I think, 8 or 9 hours ago. And they're rearranging the whole event, everything, the facility for us here. So
we were considering making that a new live challenge, but they went ahead and took the ice off. Yeah.
So Jeff, I'm going to let you do some introduction. Jeff is another part of the facility. Jeff, I'm going to let you kind of talk about, from your perspective, of what's going on here. I know we have the agenda there, and you're going to talk about some other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, David. Good morning. It is awesome to be back here in Central Bank Center in Rupp Arena for the 2023 STLP State Championship. We're pumped. We got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of folks coming to participate tomorrow. There are students all over the Commonwealth today who are have been working on projects and getting their skill sets together for months ahead of the state championship. There are some that are just now getting started probably and freaking out a little bit, trying to make sure everything's ready for tomorrow. So even though tomorrow is the big day, we think about this as really it's a multi-day event. Our schools and our students have been building up to this. Some have even gone and they've raised money to try and bring their teams here. So this is not just a flash in the pan one day. This is the culmination of a year's worth of work for these students and for all these STLP coaches and for all of our digital learning coaches, library media specialists, computer science teachers, our administrators, our CIOs, our technicians. Everyone's worked very hard to get us to this point. So, before we can go any further, just say thanks to everybody. I appreciate you. A lot of work to get us here. David, you did mention we are looking at possibly, we think the most numbers right now are our pre-registration numbers. Our folks who've told us they're coming exceed how many folks we had here last year. So those numbers are not even going to count mom, dad, superintendents, principals, folks that weren't on the registration to come and visit and participate in the event and see the students in action. So we're prepared for just the biggest day in STLP history. And I hope that you're going to be here to help celebrate that with us and get to see all of from an EdTech leader's perspective, again, this is a work that is only possible because of the services that you provide, the leadership that you provide. And I hope that you'll come and I hope you'll also think about ways to take advantage of this. What better way to prove to the world the value and worth of what we do than coming and seeing kids in action and using the tools and the technology and the skill set that we provide for them on this huge stage that we're really lucky to share with them.
As I said, Jeff, this is out of all
ahead.
the events that we do statewide, whether it be sports or clubs or academic, this is the largest that Kentucky will have in a K-12 setting. And just to put it into perspective, having, we'll be announcing, tomorrow that, during the award ceremony, that just a month ago or so that the state championship for the boys and girls basketball tournament took place. And we think it's equal on that stage to celebrate it and recognize those that have done well and are champions in their different categories with STLP. So it's a fun day, and it's a day of celebration, but a day of demonstration and competition.
So we're going to have more students in this facility than we've ever had at a state STLP state championship. Yeah. We're going to have more students coming across the stage to be celebrated in front of their peers, in front of the country, and being broadcast live through KET. Thank you, KET, for broadcasting our students tomorrow. Huge shout out to KET. Jeff, can you take us through just the order of events, like a schedule, just so folks can kind of get an eye on, what steps are, we're planning for tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely, Marty. So I'll share my screen while we're chatting, but in the chat window for everyone who is in the Teams meeting, I went ahead and dropped a link directly to the STLP State Championship info page, our event page that we have had actually published for several months, adding more detail to it as we got closer and closer to today. But let's see here. Okay. So in the link, we had some fun little magic, and if you go to stlp.live, you can jump out to the info page, which is essentially the program app. For lack of a better term, we don't have an app necessarily because we take advantage of these online resources. But as soon as you enter the page, and I would encourage everyone, just take a couple minutes today, peruse this if you're coming. If you haven't had a chance yet to dig into it, we've tried to make it just about as easy to navigate as possible with the main events happening. And right across the top, we've got our schedule. So I'll just go ahead and pull up the schedule. The schedule, listen, there's a lot happening. You don't have to get freaked out by looking at this schedule, because the bottom line is, here's the deal. Everything basically starts at 10 a.m. There's an award show at 1 o'clock. Things continue until about 3 o'clock when the events kind of slow down, and we invite everyone to come in and get their seats for the big award show at 4 p.m. in Rupp Arena. But there is a detailed schedule available to everyone here. Buses are going to start arriving early tomorrow morning. We have been talking with folks all year about going all in with STLP. That's been our theme from the first time. If you go back and look at the tape, you'll see that all the way back in August of last year, we were talking about going all in with STLP State and talking about planning from that point until now, setting the expectation that teams are going to make it to the award show. Teams are going throughout the day, and that they're going to have that opportunity to come up on stage and get recognized. So hopefully, with your help and your leadership in your district, you've helped folks understand the value of having these buses stick around for the entire day. But the schedule will kind of just take you through. 9 a.m. is when we kind of are really sort of opening the doors, letting the students come in, get set up, find their rooms, move around to where the challenges will be so they can understand the layout of the facility. At 10 a.m., we'll kick off most of the activities. Our STLP level 2 projects will kick off around 10 o'clock. In the exhibit hall, we've got 630 plus projects that are going to be in that room, which is another little a miracle of physics and science that they managed to figure out how to get that many tables into a room, and a second miracle that they could find that many tables in Lexington. So we'll have all that going on, but also simultaneously we'll be kicking off. There's about 20 live challenges that are also happening throughout the building, everything from web coding to game design challenge to various robotics activities, some website design.
Jeff, and I know everyone's talking about Cinemania still, so that'll be happening at that time as well.
Everyone is still talking about Cinemania. Yeah, people love Cinemania. It's one of the biggest hits of the whole event. The thing is that we have to, first of all, I love that all of our challenges are led by volunteers. Everyone that is leading the challenge is someone who is either coming out of a school system, out of a university, one of our partners, and they are doing this kind of above and beyond, leading these challenges. So if you are someone who is trying to help people get here and get organized, know that those leads are reaching out and telling folks, here's our detailed schedule. And if they don't have a detailed schedule, we start at 10 o'clock. That's the beauty of the whole thing. It starts at 10. So get to where you need to be at 10 o'clock. We're pumped and we're excited to announce now. We've kind of dribbled this information out a little bit, but we're really going to blow it up today and get out to folks. We know that our students that are coming are going to lose their minds when they find that we're actually, with the help of KET Education, we're actually taping a live KET news quiz with Kelsey Starks at 10:30 from the stage in Rupp, which to you and I, you're looking and you're thinking, who cares? Trust me, if you are, K through ninth grade and probably everyone else, you're pumped and you're going to be waiting in line to try and get in there and get autographs with Kelsey and be part of a live news quiz. It is a highlight of the day. We're really excited to have her coming. That production is a whole thing, and we appreciate KET for pulling that off. Throughout the day, as our finalists are determined, so we've got our digital products that will be scored. We'll figure out who our champions are, and later on, we'll know who our level 2 projects are. Then moving on to level 3. That information will all get published out to the wall of winners. It kind of goes live around 11 o'clock. So we'll encourage folks to reach out, refresh their browser, watch that wall of winners populate. If your name pops up on there, that means you're getting an award. You won't know if you're first place or you're second place until you come to the stage and we announce and give you your awards. But that's kind of an exciting, fun little interactive activity. We'll wrap up. So we'll have one award show at 1 p.m. That's all of our digital products, our digital music, digital art, things that students have been working on and had submitted back in January, has gone through a rigorous judging process. We'll announce who those winners are, who our champions are at 1 o'clock on the stage. Also, by the way, hosted by the one and only Miss Kelsey Starks, which we're always excited about. Then as things wrap up in the afternoon, we'll roll into our afternoon, our 4 p.m. Products and Challenge Award Show, where we'll recognize all of our service teams. We'll get all of the project teams that made it to level 3 up on stage. We'll find out who our state champions are, and it promises to be the biggest event ever. We've encouraged folks, listen, this is what we were talking about with All In. Get those buses, set the expectation. You're not heading back to school at 1 o'clock. You're coming back after the award show. But we also listened to your feedback from the top 5. And overwhelmingly, the feedback was, we got to get out of here earlier. So we've compressed the entire day. We've started it as late as we can, and we're starting the award show as early as we can so that we can get you back on the buses and headed back home just as quickly as possible. It's a little bit of an overview. Everything starts at 10. Competitions wrap up at 3. There's awards at 1. There's awards at 4. We should be out the door like 5:30, 6 o'clock, which is way earlier. I can remember there were times we walked out and it was already dark. So we have come a long way, baby, and streamlined stuff. And so hopefully that's going to be something that will make sense to you. So on that point, I know that when you are coming to an event like this right now, there's a lot of concern about how do we get in, where do we park, and what do we eat while we're here. So all that's covered in the STLP info page. Jump on there. We have very specific instructions for the buses. It's very straightforward, and hopefully your coaches have shared that with your transportation department. The information is straight right here in the bus info. All the buses will enter from one location off of Oliver Lewis Way and Manchester Street. Lex PD will be there helping direct traffic. Central Bank Center will be there with security, also directing traffic, directing people in a queue so that they loop up into the loading dock behind the exhibit hall where the buses will line up. Students will walk right in through the loading bay and right to their tables, right to their activities. It is kind of like a VIP entrance. It is for just folks coming from buses directly from schools. We learned a lot last year by having some school administrators and district administrators watching Central Bank Center as they were unloading buses. And our folks kind of walked out and said, listen, I think we could probably do this a little bit more efficiently. And they went from unloading like 5 buses at a time to I think 15, which will greatly reduce. And they were mentioning that because of what we taught them, that's kind of how they handle some of the crowd control here in the facility. But from everything that we looked at with their security folks and their transportation folks, it looks like if the buses follow the routine and we don't have anybody go rogue and try and park in certain places or come in and off different ways, if they follow the routine as prescribed, we should roll through that bus unloading pretty quickly. And there should be plenty of parking for the buses in the lot out back, so we won't have to ferry anyone back and forth. But I know that's a big thing on a lot of folks' minds is how do I get in? Where do the buses go? So I know there's also some folks that are going to be coming in cars or smaller vans or bringing individuals. Heads up that the lot, there is a lot right adjacent to the facility across the street at West High Street, the West High Street parking lot. It's operated individually. If you go to the parking section on our page, I hope the folks here aren't really listening. You don't have to park there. You can. It's closest. They are charging this year, despite our pleas. It's a private business, and they're like, we got all these people coming. We're going to make some money. So I get it. Right now, what I understand is it sounds like they're planning to charge $12 plus tax for all day parking in the lot across the street. But what I've included on this parking page is there's lots of parking in downtown Lexington, and they actually have a dedicated site, lexpark.org, where you could find, if you aren't inclined to spend $12 and you want to walk a couple blocks, I think that you could probably find a more reasonable thing. So last bit I'll wrap up here is I just want to also point out that we have some very specific maps laid out. I say specific, they're generally specific in that each the facility here, once you get here, you'll kind of understand most of us are going to enter on the 3rd floor. It sounds crazy, but from the loading dock with the buses, and if you came in from the West High Street parking lot, you're actually entering into the 3rd floor, where I'll pull up this map, where what we're actually seeing is direct access right to all of the project tables and then into this main hallway, and then also across that main hallway down into Rupp Arena. A lot of the action is going to happen here on the 3rd floor, including the Welcome Center, including some of the activities that we have going on with the digital learning coaches. And thank you, Jennifer from Knox County, Jennifer Mills from Knox County, who's leading the ribbon activity this year. You'll see that this main hallway just kind of goes down some escalators to the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor, my friends, is where we have virtually all of the challenges. So if you're coming for a live challenge, we've got it all laid out in all of the rooms along the 2nd floor. Right here, easy to see. And then if you head down to the 1st floor, that's where we had the majority of our robotics challenges. And I consider the floor of Rupp Arena the 1st floor because they're technically all on the same level. That's where we had the stage where you can come see Kelsey Starks, where you can come to the award show. Plus, we had the STLP Experience Learning Playground, where we have activities that are hands-on learning events that are tied to the Kentucky Academic Standards for Technology. So it's not just come and play with something, it's come and learn. And there's a fun new activity. If you were here last year and you saw all the students collecting the ribbons, We've gone. That was a great activity, and thanks Bruce Lindsay and Laura and the whole gang that set that up. This year we've taken it a step further, and now those activities are a little bit more intentional. And earning those ribbons is something that is not just walking up to someone saying, "Give me a ribbon, give me a ribbon." They actually walk up to digital learning coaches who are volunteering from all over the state are coming in, and you're actually the students are going to interact with the digital learning coach and demonstrate for them why they just learned about how they're a computational thinker or a global collaborator to earn their ribbon. So it's not just coming for competition. There's also learning activities involved. It's a big fun day. It's a huge facility, but it's super, super fun to have everybody together. And I can't wait to get everybody here tomorrow so that we can jump in and really celebrate all of the students and all the work that you've done this year to get us here. All right, that was a lot.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, there's a lot going on. It's like I say, my favorite work day of the year. There's anything that came up in Go Soapbox or the chats that we need to address during that? All right.
So recap real quick, stlp.live. Most things start at 10, award show at 1, award show at 4. Lots and lots of folks here, all with the same mission.
Yeah.
All with the same mission, so that we are demonstrating learning using technologies.
And like I say, for Kentucky Educational Television, KET, for them to broadcast it out, we had it just fell down there. Somebody just dropped something. I hope it wasn't anything major. But we had a lot of folks. We had thousands, 10,000 people that watched it. Maybe it was 15,000 last year remotely. Right. So that's a huge crowd that's here in person that we'll have, but also remotely. It's fantastic. So thanks for everyone that's put that together, and we'll all see you tomorrow. Right, Jeff? Jeff, you're not allowed to leave, but you got to stay right here.
We have a sleeping bag of.
I've been here all year. I've never left.
Next up is a really short topic. There was really nothing major that came out of the legislative session, new legislation that impacted school districts. The only thing that I mentioned before is about TikTok at state agency levels, besides a policy that was right before the session that was put in place for state agencies. There was legislation that was passed that impacts state agencies, but once again, it does not impact school districts at all. But I did see where Montana had passed a piece of legislation pretty recently about just not their state agencies and their schools, but
all citizens.
All citizens. So I don't know how that works, but in Kentucky, it's just for the state agencies that is only impacts. I want to take a quick look back at KISTE. It was about this time a little over a month ago, that we were all gathered in KISTE. That's just a first class event that gets better and better every year. Marianne, your team, Marianne's still in here.
She is
working outstanding job leading that effort. And thanks for all the good things. And I appreciate all those and the KISTE leadership roles that step up beyond their responsibilities that are district. They step up and play a role in making good things happen for others. Marianne has definitely for years made lots of good things happen for folks in her district and statewide. Definitely appreciate her partnership for a long, long time. Enjoyed the CIO Summit as well. That was a good event for us. We got some immediate feedback, changed the format a little bit to had a lightning round, which I think was great. We also will give you the results of the ones that we had a more traditional setting around. But once again, it was a win-win. It was great for us to interact with you all, interact with our own staff, and in that kind of setting.
And David, there's a lot of folks in the meetup today, a lot of our EdTech leaders who contributed and led sessions, and
that's right.
The overwhelming feedback that we've heard and that we also gathered ourselves, the quality of learning in the sessions. If you look through the matrix that KISTE provided for the event itself, 3 whole days of just high quality learning, and the folks who led those sessions it was awesome.
I did want to bring up, if we could, we're going to have Neil Arnett come on and join us a little bit about the future, but I wanted to, the award show that not everyone stays for is aware of. I wanted to make some folks aware of the awards that came out. So if you could bring up the KISTE site and show the the award winners that were recognized. Don't you have a second to do
There we
that?
go.
Yeah, there we go. So if you could just read through those, who the award winners were that they highlighted on that Friday morning.
So Friday morning announced the 2023 Impact Leader was Lisa Salyard, who's a digital learning lead and technology instructional lead at Johnson County Schools. We've done a lot of work with Lisa, and she's absolutely awesome. The 2023 Impact Teacher was Clint Litzinger, who's a science teacher from Bracken County Schools. The 2023 Impact Tech Support was Matt Henry, who's a level 3 computer maintenance technician from Owensboro Independent School District, and we've worked with Matt for a long time. He's absolutely awesome. The 2023 Making IT Happen Award, or Making It Happen Award, was Mr. Ben Maynard, who works on our team at the Kentucky Department of Education in our Office of Education Technology.
Yep. Well deserved by all those, and wanted to make sure that they got just not their high five in front of the audience, but this one as well.
And the final that was 22. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yep. And there's a link on the website that shows these winners along with their previous winners that they've had there. So now looking forward, I know Neil, there's some changes coming on with KISTE going forward.
Yeah, we're super excited, and I'll go ahead and plug. You can see behind me, we're excited to be expanding to the International Convention Center in Louisville in 2024. So we're super excited about that. And I think it's wonderful that we're also talking about STLP today, because as I know David remembers, we've been around for a little while. I actually got my start as an STLP junior engineer in 2001 at the KTLC conference at the International Convention Center in Louisville. So we are super excited to be moving back and doing that. It's the fact that we've expanded over the years this much at KISTE and have participation from all the districts. I just wanted to share really quickly a couple of recap points from this point. You all were just mentioning these awesome EdTech leaders. I believe, can you see my screen there, Marty? Yeah, so these awesome EdTech leaders that are from all across the state, CIOs, DLCs, library media specialists, everybody you see in that picture is somebody that has a full-time job in a Kentucky school district that volunteers their time, with the exception of our, bless her heart, Lorena Hall, who is our amazing executive director, who is a part-time but works 3 or 4 full-time hours to make KISTE happen. She does a fantastic job with that. Just a couple things, as you were talking about, this is just some of the growth of KISTE over the years. We wanted to share today. You can see by each self-reported job description, we love to see all those K-12 teachers that were out this year. We had just shy of 500 K-12 teachers, the DLCs, the technicians, the CIOs, everyone there. And this year's KISTE event just missed being the largest in history by 4 attendees.
Four?
4 attendees. Yeah, we just missed it by 4. We had 1,835 attendees this year at the KISTE event. And you can see why we're having to expand. We really we were maxing out our facility previously, and so we're super excited about moving.
Neil,
yeah.
Neil, real quick, and we've discussed this. David's discussed this in the past as well, but we've heard from other EdTech leaders across the country, our peers at departments of ed, that in other states, their premier kind of education technology association or organization has not really recovered.
No, they didn't bounce back. There's a very high percentage, as you would imagine, they don't have a statewide thing at all. But the ones that do, is they have not recovered. And so the great news, recovered after the COVID situation. And so, those that have attended them across the country, I know the vendor partners that were there attend these across different states, and they go, this one is really different. And its fact is how well it's bounced back. And not only did it bounce back, it almost set a record.
And it's about the people, and that's why we've in Kentucky we've bounced back, Neil. Your leadership, the KIST leadership team, it's about the people.
Yeah,
and that's awesome. So huge high five.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, I wanted to point out a couple of our feedback that we gathered. 92% gave a 4 or a 5 out of 5 to all of the presenters that we had. And like you said, KIST is all about the people, because if the presentations are great, it's because you all who are on this call today and your staff, your DLCs, your library media specialists, your teachers, they submitted awesome sessions and they shared awesome sessions. We had over 325 sessions at KIST this year that were shared by that many or more. A lot of them are team presentations. So there's a lot of people that present the awesome work that they're doing across Kentucky K-12. And overwhelmingly, the response was that those presentations were awesome, and that all of those sharing from across Kentucky did an awesome job. The other update that I will share is we are excited, of course, with our partnership with STLP. Like you said, Marianne's there working hard as she always does, and that's why I'm sharing some of this today. The rest of the KIST team will be there tomorrow. If they're not there already, a lot of us will be there tomorrow. We'll be judging. We will be helping out in any way that you all need, as well as we're excited to have 4 awesome STLP scholarship winners that we will be there to present on stage during the awards ceremony. So we had some great submissions and some really awesome students that we're going to get to honor tomorrow during the awards ceremony. So we're excited to see you all there. And we are excited about KIST 24. We've been making plans since last June, so we are excited to get that started and looking forward to seeing you all.
Thanks, Neil. I want to brag on Neil a little bit. I'm going to go back to your high school days. I came to Magoffin County, which has a very strong STLP program, and so I was invited by the superintendent to attend. And I said, "Well, who's leading this?" Because there was cars way up and down that road. And it looked like a regional tournament basketball final type of parking that you see of the school full and then along the road that they're parked. And so I see this young man who's a current student, not an adult, that has been put in charge of leading the STLP competition and their presentation at their high school. So appreciate your long involvement and leadership in STLP, and now your leadership in KIST, Neil.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Again, that's why I'm so excited about STLP, because it has definitely 100% put me where I am today and able to do all this awesome stuff with Kentucky K-12. It's why I love it so much. Thank you all.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the next subject is the process for approving leases that are over $100,000. Lisa Moore and our staff sent me a document that goes back to right when Kentucky Education Reform Act, CARA, was put in place. And one of the main things they talked about was leases over $100,000. So this has been in place for quite some time. And we're looking to how can we make that process more efficient. And so in the Department of Education, really over the past 3 or 4 months, we've spent some time and energy on how we can make it much more efficient. And if you take a look historically, and I asked folks to put this together for me, and I probably should put this on a chart that showed it here, but I'll just read it off to you, the chart. I asked over the past 5 years, how many leases have come to the department that have required our approval that were over $100,000? And it was 136 different ones over that 5-year period. And a breakout like this is close to 50% of that number is fiber connections. It's the fiber connection from the school to the KD Internet hub within the district. So that's half of them. 25% are copiers, printer copiers. 22% are computers of some type, and those can be mobile devices, any kind of mobile device that's there. And then we had really a very small number that were phone systems, and so that was the breakout of them. And as we take a look at it in our office, is nearly all those items are immediately approved. They're all immediately approvable type of items that we spend very little time on. And so the process is we've created an email address and an account to where the lease is sent to that account. And It doesn't involve the KE any longer. The KEs don't need to be involved. Even the CO of the district doesn't need to be involved unless you want to be involved. And it's just sending the lease by email to that email address. And then the address is leases over 100K at education.ky.gov. Leases over 100K at education.ky.gov. And when a lease is sent to that, and it doesn't require any checklists, if you want to do a little intro page, you can. It goes to 3 parts of KD immediately. It goes to the commissioner's office, it goes to our office, Office of Education Technology, and it goes to the Office of Legal Services at the same time. And so within that account, we have automatically set up so the people that are identified as the main point of contacts, those areas, receive them. So they're not waiting the queue. They can be doing their thing in parallel versus one waiting sequentially. Our portion in OET will be typically within the same day that we receive it. We will create the approval letter that we send to the commissioner's office as a 1-pager that's sent to the superintendent. So it has the wording of the following items are approved. Automatically goes to commissioner with our words that this is item that we give our thumbs up to. We don't go in depth of it and look at it, how you're using it. It's just an item that to us is automatically approvable. For anyone that spent time with these in a district, you will realize that the most time spent on leases is from a legal perspective. It may be between our legal office and your legal staff member, or your legal staff member between the company that you're leasing with. And that typically takes a ton of time. And so even though we're making this in a very efficient process, is you still need to give some thought to, and the timeframes that we put ahead is what you need to have it done by, because of how long it takes for the legal process to work. And I know within our legal office, they're trying to streamline, they are in the process of streamlining it as well. Part of it is giving guidance out to districts about the kind of things they're looking for in these leases to protect the district. X number of these are optional, X number of them are required. And hopefully that will, that will speed up that process as well. So the organization that you're working with already knows up front how many of those are thou shalt and how many of those are optional to put in place. So that is to start on May 1st. Will it be 100% perfect even for our staff that works on it? No, I'm sure there'll be times that folks still send it to us and we'll ask you to send it. We'll send it back and say, send it to this leases over 100K account at education.ky.gov. So it automatically goes. So I know it's going to take some time for folks to get used to that. We're also asking our commissioner office to, since I've got the superintendents as well, we got an average, like I say, 30 of these a year. The biggest crunch of these is during E-rate time for the lease lines, right? So you're the fiber lines that you get, up to 90% discounts on. If you don't have done by a period of time, you could perhaps lose those. The other compression time is usually buy things during the summer. Mainly it's copiers and printers, and sometimes it's computers. And you want those available before the next school year. And everyone's on vacation, is trying to find them, and you try to get that done early as possible. I'm just telling you from the OET perspective, is our part is trying to make this very, very quick. Once again, the Cats field staff is no longer, they weren't doing anything wrong. They just don't need to be part of the process any longer. It'll be rare, I should say. Nothing's 100% or nor 100% perfect. There may be rare situations that have to get involved, but the purpose of it is to streamline it and not make them have to be involved with all, and not be a middleman or middlewoman between the legal folks. So if we were having to play that role, it was they had some kind of legal thing. It was come to us. We were going to the district. You're involving your legal staff, and we don't need to play and be in the middle of that. They just need the legal needs to talk directly to legal versus us being in the middle.
And David, our CATS engineers and field staff will continue to hit on this at the regional level as well.
And hopefully you get it for your the superintendents as well through that messaging. So we don't know if we have any questions. Do we have any questions popped up so far? And we still have time. We'll take a look at those. And
no questions yet.
Once again, I hope folks are looking at Go Soapbox and populating those, because we'll hit those. Next up, we'll have Mike Lettingham give a status on CATS RFPs and contracts update.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be live here at the 300 Sauer building in Frankfort. Even more riveting excitement is I'm in my office here at the 300 Sauer building in Frankfurt. So I don't get to have quite the excitement of David and Marty and the rest of the crew over there today, but I will certainly see many of you over there tomorrow. But as of right now, I'm still here in Frankfurt. So I'm going to go over a few things. I'm just going to kind of walk through the list, David, that you kind of put out in the agenda and give a little bit of an update on each one of these. The next generation K through 12 internet, obviously, hopefully everybody's aware of the fact that we've got that in motion. We've making great progress on the site visits and the site preparation. I'd say most every district has been involved in that to this point. If you haven't, you certainly will be soon. And those are going well, and things are moving along there well. We've got a lot of ongoing preparation and activity that's occurring between our team here in KDE and with ENA, our internet provider, moving forward. So again, that's making good progress. Kind of just remind folks, our schedule is to complete a transition to services through the ENA contract to be completed no later than June 30th of 2024. So again, that's an aggressive schedule, and we will continue to work that schedule. The connected user experience, many people are familiar with that initiative that we have discussed, and we are in a process of moving that into an RFP activity, which is our procurement activity to secure a purchasing mechanism for the connected user experience. I'm not going to try to go in detail of the of what all's included in that, or what all's made up of that. We can certainly address anything if we need to, but mainly just want to make folks aware that has moved into the procurement phase, if you will, of the RFP. And so it's got quite a bit of hoops and things to go through yet as part of that, but we are moving forward with that. On our instructional device contracts, it's been determined that we're going to temporarily suspend our product standards for our enterprise level, our high-end computers, the laptops and desktops. That's something that we're going to, again, temporarily suspend. As part of that, the contracts that we have, the KETS contracts, the 4 instructional device contracts will remain available. That's something that they will continue to be available. However, the option will be there for computers, laptops, desktops, enterprise level computers to be purchased via other mechanisms during this time while those product standards are suspended. We do intend to reestablish those at some point in the future. It's really just a matter of we don't have time to do a new procurement process, an RFP process right now. So it was felt the best thing to do is to suspend those product standards during this time period right now. We also will be coming out with some more guidance, again, just around this topic overall, but really around the operational standards that need to be considered if you do buy something other than through our KETS contracts that will continue to exist, especially if you're going to be continuing to participate in virus protection, Windows software updates, and things of that nature. And again, that's something we intend to share more with you about, and the KEs will certainly be able to address questions and so forth. Our partners that hold those contracts have been made aware that we're, again, temporarily suspending these product standards. We're going to continue to work with them on, anything that, has to directly be done to alter or to be recognized on those contracts that continue to exist. Don't really expect much, be honest with you. I mean, again, our intention is for those contracts to continue to be there, continue to be available, but they will not be the only mechanism by which you can buy an enterprise or a laptop, desktop level machine. The school report card, again, another RFP procurement activity that's in process. a little farther along than the Q's one I mentioned, but not really anything I can report on as far as much farther along. It's in the pipeline, I will say as well, as part of an RFP to secure a new contractual purchasing mechanism for how we provide the school report card. And Dee Dee may chime in on that a little bit later when she's speaking to some things. And then another one that I'll mention is the SEEK application. We've mentioned this one previously. It's not anything that districts necessarily have a direct touch point to, but there's a lot of things that get fed into the SEEK application through Munis and through other mechanisms. And the SEEK application, that is the application that manages all of the funding to school districts, the SEEK funding, and so that's in the process again. That's much further along. That RFP is actually posted and available to receive responses. So again, that's one that's further along in the pipeline. David, real quickly, that was the ones you had listed. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones we want to mention. If anybody wants to remind me of one that we might want to mention, let me know. But I'm going to mention real quick while I'm talking that tech plans, and Marty, I don't know if you want to add anything to this as well, but tech plans were required to be submitted, I think on the 14th was the date, but it was a few days ago. And we had a flurry of activity of those occurring over the last several days. And I think we're down to like 18 that's not been received. I'm not going to, like guarantee that's the number, but we are down to a few. So, but that is some that need to be completed. So we ask that you, if you're one of those, that you for sure let us know status, what's going on. If you need assistance, let us know. Obviously, any of our field staff can assist you and be able to get that across the finish line. And then the other thing that I'm going to mention real quickly is the KETS offers. The second phase of the KETS offers went in process. I don't remember the exact date. I've got it here somewhere. But anyways, a few weeks ago. So everybody should be receiving those second offers. And that was the $9 offer that brought it up to 21 total for the year. So again, if you're unsure or unclear on if your second offer, check into that, because you should have that money getting queued up and being available to come to you. I think that's what I had, David.
Mike, I was just looking at Go Soapbox. One of the items that we talked about, there's no longer requirement for a waiver process for the enterprise level desktops and laptops. Yep. Means you can buy any brand that you want, Windows based or Apple based. Previously we had Apple MacBook Air. You can buy any brand you want of the Windows and of the Apple line as well.
Yep, I forgot to mention that. I'm glad that you caught that.
So I think there's anything else. I know we addressed the leases.
And our team is doing a good job of responding to some of the questions that come in as well.
Do students? I don't know. We'll go with. We'll circle back. Dee Dee?
All right.
Our data systems.
Okay, I'll tag on to start off with what Mike started with, the school report card. That is with the Office of State Finance right now. We're really waiting for that to be posted. We're hoping that'll be posted in the next week or two. Cross your fingers. You need to get that going. Most of you probably think it's not school report card time right now, but for the finance directors, it is. The finance transparency data is being released in May. So they are uploading data and reviewing data that they had previously submitted in the school report card system. So that work is continuing. We have made some changes. If you use our open house site or our school report card sites off of open house, we've made some changes, some updates. I think you'll see that those are just a little bit cleaner. They were a little, had gotten a little stale. We hadn't changed them in a while. So the information's still there. The school and district directory is still there. So we still are very reliant on you all to keep those updated, the contacts, because those are the contacts that get information from that school directory. From KDE, and that's all done through People Role Manager, and the WAPOCs are key to keeping that data current and updated. So appreciate all your all's work to do that, because that really does make our open house site much more usable and available to the public with good information. I know we've talked about the civil rights data collection a number of times, and every month I tell you I don't know anything more. Unfortunately, I have to tell you that again. There's really no new dates that have come out. We would have normally had the civil rights data collection already done by this point in time. We're just like you all, we're just kind of on hold at this point, waiting to find out. This is data that was collected from 122. So it's data we would have normally reported, gotten this, pretty much done. I don't know what the plans are from the federal government. It was part of the OMB clearance and having to make some changes that all had to go through. So as we know more, we will share that information with the CRDC contacts. Another plug for People Role Manager is make sure your CRDC contacts are up to date, because we will use those to communicate out with those. And we'll also include information out to superintendents too. I do want to thank you all for those of you that did update your front door coordinates. If your schools or your districts did change over the last year, it's really important that we try to get those new coordinates updated in the statewide system. If you didn't get a chance to do this, or you're like, oh, how did I miss that? We communicated out this year a little differently, and you can let us know if it was better or worse. So I know there's not that many of you that have changes every year, but there's typically some new schools. We will not send that information over to COT until May. I think our original deadline was April 22nd, but we can extend into May. Just let us know if you need some more time, and we'll be glad to make sure we've got all the information we need before we send that information to the Commonwealth Office of Technology. So we are partnering here at STLP with a new data challenge for this year. The Kentucky Stats Group is going to be working with us, as long as some other offices in OET from KDE. And we're excited about being here and having like a part of a challenge. So it's all new to us. But if you aren't familiar with that data challenge, help promote that in your district. Great way to bring those math people in, that are like data people anyway. So we'd love to see more people participate next year. This was year one, and we're happy with the number we got, but we'd like to see some increased numbers going forward. Just some information quickly on the Infinite Campus side of things. We did have spring user group meetings. We thank all of you for helping pass that information along to get the people involved. They were very well attended. We do have some annual training that's coming up. This is our end of year training we do every single year. We do the 3 times a year we do the training. That training will be next Friday. So please, this Friday, I'm sorry. I'd like to say next Friday, but it's a busy week. It'll be this Friday. So the agenda is posted on the KDE cases training page. So please go out there. You can see the agenda. If you see a session that somebody's supposed to come into, we stay on schedule. We don't deviate from that schedule. We'll fill time, or we'll stop so that we can start and stop according to schedule, so that people can join us for whichever sessions are of interest to them. So please help us spreading that information. There were one more Infinite Campus thing I wanted to mention. It's that time of year again that bills are going out. They were actually supposed to go out yesterday. I have not seen them. Some of you all may have gotten them. So be on the lookout for your Infinite Campus bills. Some of you are like, that's not my thing. But, the reality is, if they send me a list that says not paid, I always go out to CIOs and try to get you engaged anyway. So apologize for that. It's not one of my favorite things to do, is to be the bill collector at the in August. So if you can help me get that process. But there's a large window for opening that. We have them bill us early, specifically so that if you have old year money, use it. If you don't have any old year money left, you can wait till after July 1 and pay for it with the new year money. And as long as it's paid by August 15th, we're all good. Everything's good. So that's all we need you to do. So we did have a couple other things, some security training that's coming up. Bob and I love to do security training, but we even love it more when somebody else does security training. And there's a lot of great resources out there on the student privacy website for studentprivacy.ed.gov site. There's training opportunities. They've got a couple of sessions that are coming up. I know there's one tomorrow, data security and data breach response. They're doing vetting EdTech and transparency. If you're involved in trying to vet EdTech and making sure it's, aligns to all it needs, I can give you some information. And they do this 100% of the time, every single day. They're usually really good trainings. So do take advantage of those. There was a webcast question on Go Soapbox about, do you know about the resources? I haven't looked at it lately, and I guess Marty might pull it up for me. But the numbers that said they actually use those resources was very low. And that's not surprising. It's not the issue for all of you. But even for me, that I feel like I pretty much know a lot of this information, that's my go-to place. I go there. There's all kinds of letters that they put out. You can search information, find resources available to you. And as I have people come on board, they take those data ethics classes. They take the FERPA 101 just before they have access to data, because it sets a good foundational knowledge for them before you just open up the systems to them. So think about that. There is some new FERPA guidance that recently went out. It was specific about health records. So we have sent that out to folks, but do help to spread that information if you think there might be somebody that hasn't gotten that information already. So we had the 2 questions. Marty, do you want to bring them up? You want me to?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
One's on retention, and we're going to talk a little bit about retention and chats in the closed session.
Right.
So I thought it was good, as we talked about yesterday, preparing for this, is just saying how the approach is for Infinite Campus, but we're going to talk about electronic records retention and chats,
Right.
related
So
chats.
the first question was about who is aware of the resources and using them. And we were very optimistic in the no answer that everybody's going to start looking at that. So we got all the faith in the world in this group of folks. So we would like to have that yes number a little bit bigger. But even if you're not the person, knowing that resource is available to you and it's available to other, there's people in your district that don't know that those resources are available.
And this is awesome opportunity for growth.
Yes, absolutely. The other one is we're just starting to capture information. We've been doing this at KDE also about, that's not mine, that's Bob's, I think. The last one is the one, the discussion question.
Yep.
Okay. That is the one that we were just starting to ask questions about your all thoughts on this. We tried this Infinite Campus retention. It's been quite a few years ago now, hadn't it? Nobody was interested in talking to us. I think now you're seeing the open records requests coming in and the amount of data that is available. And we have had the system for a long time, but we also have a lot of considerations like, special education data. You can't get rid of that until the student graduates. And if they don't graduate, it's really 3 years after they're 21 years old. So, and then you've got transcript data. You never really can get rid of transcript data. So there's all these conditional data that we have to figure out how best to do it. Infinite Campus is asking us questions. They're interested in trying to come up with some resources that would allow for us not to forever keep all data. We don't need all data forever. How long do you need somebody's kindergarten records, for instance? I'm just pulling something out of the air. But, so there's certain things, but setting all those parameters, just continue to reach out to me. Some of you already have, and I appreciate that with your thoughts on this. But, it doesn't have to be through Go Soapbox. We're just gathering information right now. This isn't going to be something that happens this summer. It might not happen a year from now. But we do need to plan for some best practices as far as retention around Infinite Campus data. And so one of you in one of your responses said it needs to go beyond Infinite Campus. And we're well aware of that. I have more control over the Infinite Campus side of things than I have on those other systems. So I think it's a good place to start. So, but we do know that it needs to go beyond just the Infinite Campus world. So that was my quick update. It wasn't as quick as I thought.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Awesome.
All right.
David, we do have a couple questions that have come in, and just to summarize real briefly. Number one, the suspension of the product standard is only for
Temporary suspension.
Temporary suspension is only for workstations, instructional devices.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only product
It's
standard that we're talking
it's
about.
only one category. The high-end laptops and desktops, every other product standard is in place. This is the single only, I don't know what other word I can say, is the one that we are temporarily suspending with the intention of reestablishing it.
That's right.
And go ahead.
And then just to also point out, some of the questioning is leading towards really great suggestions. So just as we've developed local standards for Chromebooks and other devices that we know need to be enterprise managed, going out and picking something up at your local Walmart or whatever that cannot be managed in your fleet that you assign to kids and teachers, that's not a good strategy. And so folks are recognizing that having that local standard over this temporary period of time is super smart.
Yeah. If you look at historically why standards were put in place in general is, if you take a look at companies as well, I know we're not a company, but any large organizations, one of us is drive down costs. But a good part of it is to help tiny staffs, which are typically technology staffs, support it. And the more different brands and models you have, anyone can tell you that it's more difficult to do that. I know when I visited UPS, we have a variety of brands and models that they really just have one. Company wide. And once again, we offer some more choice associated with that, but mainly it comes down to the ease of support of that. So it does go to the other parts that we're talking about. You got to give some thought about how you operationally support this. And you really need to have an operational support plan with your tiny staffs, because that was one of the reasons these were put in place many years ago. The staffs were too tiny. People were going out and wanting to buy everything from every kind of commercial thing they could find, and the tiny staffs could not keep up with it. So we would support you doing whatever you need to do to operationally, to survive. But also there's some things we'll be giving out guidance for our services. For example, our virus protection services, and there's a variety of other ones. Is there certain parameters that have to be met in order for that service to be operational for you? And so if you go out and buy, a brand model that it doesn't work, then you won't be covered, and you absorb all that risk. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next topic is artificial intelligence. And I know I talked a little bit about this in different settings, including Seattle Summit, but I'm going to give a little bit about it again. Is about my personal background. Is there's a couple of things that have significantly impacted my path. Neil mentioned STLP. I wish STLP was around during that time, but there was a guy named Mr. Howard Ramey at Johnson Central High School, which was the very first teacher, of my understanding, probably in Kentucky, definitely one of the very few, to introduce computer science into the curriculum. And so, I took computer science courses with him, which gave me a great run and go in college and beyond that, in that kind of line. So that was one thing that gave me a good run and go. The other one was Saturday morning cartoons. Not everyone I know on this webcast experienced Saturday morning cartoons, but I definitely did in the 60s and 70s. They're a really cool thing to be part of. And the best cartoon out there, all-time best art cartoon, is Johnny Quest. Now, not the remakes of it in the 80s and 90s, the original series that was in the 60s that you can still see about the future of technology, and just that series. Another one was the Jetsons. And I always got to remind folks when they're complaining about the flying car not being around right now, George Jetson was not born until July of 2022. His life is about him as a 40-year-old in 2062. So we still got 40, a little under 40 years to reach that. But you can take a look at the writers of those shows really looked out to the future and what the future would be. You see the flat screen TVs, you see Rosie the robot, which my mom has a similar Rosie robot that goes around and vacuums her house for her. It's not this big a Rosie, but this, the wide kind of Rosie model. And you see the jetpacks, the jet skis that are out there, the smartwatches, the flat screen TVs. Those were all on those shows. And I always studied, how did those writers, look so far out to the future? And I was fortunate enough after graduating college and being sent to get some degrees in computer science and large systems management, is to be at the time and to be put in charge of and the director of the Army's at that time most advanced technology facility. And a couple of things I led is we first of all started out with ARPANET, was the precursor to the internet that the Army had. We had unmanned aerial vehicles, which are now called drones. And we also had artificial intelligence systems with a programming language called Lisp. And that offered me the opportunity to, with the research that was available at that time, and it was a top secret facility, sensitive compartmentalized information, you call it top secret SCI, to really see what the future was going to be. And some folks beyond just cartoon writers had looked out to the future. And a lot of that has taken place. I've seen it take place. I always wondered when artificial intelligence would start taking place, because we use those systems pretty effectively for a variety of ways, especially during Operations Desert Storm. And what that's happened is you see it now in a much more in a pronounced way, being available to just not a handful of people,
the common
person that's out there. And even this weekend on 60 Minutes, if you missed that show, I encourage you, if you record it, go back and take a look at the CEO of Google. Talked about the future of it and how fast it's moving. And this does remind me of my time frame, maybe seeing some of the first computers, personal computers. I can remember seeing those in college. And then the use of the internet. Of course, we've seen cloud-based computing, and you can really get a feel for these are things that are going to be big parts of the future. I think what the CEO talked about there of Google is how fast it's moving. That's probably the difference here. And he also talked about more people are worried about it earlier, which tells you it's on the people's radar screen. But the fastest adopted application in the history of the internet, when Chat GPT was released in late November, early December.
And you kind of have to say that slowly to understand what that statement means. The fastest growing application ever in the history of the internet.
Yeah. And obviously there's apprehensions associated with it, which I thought he covered pretty well. If you take a look at the K-12 setting, just yesterday, I got Education Week magazine, and one of the articles in it from just yesterday, what do teachers think of Chat GPT? And the headline is they're fans. They are fans. The biggest users in K-12 of this, and even higher ed, are by far the teachers. And it's almost like a teacher's aid that they talk about helping them with lesson plans, writing things that they normally would not have time to write. Obviously, they talk about the student piece in here of, and if you tried it, and the show did a good job, is that you give it 4 words, and you say, finish the story. And it finished a pretty sophisticated story, which was like, it takes you back, and it says, well, make that what you just wrote a poem, and it can do that, in seconds. And so the part that I think people have to get used to, at least in the K-12 setting, is it's changed some. It's just kind of like when the calculators came, you learn how to do basics of math, what 5 + 5 and 5 × 5 is, but there's a time to where you start using calculators. And obviously we've seen with technology, the Excel spreadsheets, what that did, and that changed the world. So I think there has to be a great openness to it, and how you're going to adopt and try to things you're trying to block, things will be very difficult to block. New York City has blocked Chat GPT. That would be easy if no one was carrying these around, but we know nearly every middle school and high school student has a smartphone and has their independent internet access, and so probably more embracing it. And so you saw Scientific America spend some time talking about a teacher that is saying, what, I'm going to recognize they can use this to help draft a story. But I'm going to hold them accountable to that, and they'll probably have to refine it. But just be open to me that you're using this tool, and that's what this kind of story talks about. Is with their students, is they're not trying to block it. And my mom was an English teacher, and I talked to my mom about what would be your difficulties with this, and of course her son, does education technology, so she's pretty open toward it, probably some more so than the average English teacher. So there'll be adjustment by writers and English teachers to it. I did ask it to do a story for me, and I gave it some parameters, and it did pretty good. But it does hallucinations. I mean, there's hallucinations out there.
That's a term that to get comfortable with. The artificial intelligence hallucinations. One of which I don't think was a hallucination, but I asked ChatGPT what David Couch's favorite music was, and it said that it was from the 90s, and so I happened to
definitely hallucination. Definitely hallucination. It gave some examples about, and even Commissioner Glass was talking about. He was say, what are the great? He was visiting a city. What's the great places to go that has the following things? And what it found is that did not really have those following things at the hotel. It was idealistic, and that's part of it, the fine tuning of it. But the writing of it, for example, I have a close friend who's going through a medical issue with his wife, and those are always difficult things to write. And so I said, kind of help me write this, and it did a pretty good job of helping. Now I refined it just like we expect the writers to do to refine them. And this is one of the questions that we asked at the CIO Summit. But there is tons of unknowns to it. We talk about the Gardner Group hype cycle, how fast things go through being, introduced, peak of inflated expectations, trough of disillusionment, and then plateau of productivity. You'll see a lot of AI applications being introduced in a very short period of time, and going through that cycle pretty quickly. And, the part is always with this type of thing. Both my grandfathers were coal miners. A lot of my, relatives were in the coal industry. And you saw the course of time, mechanized and technology replaced some of the tasks that they were doing that normally they would go and do digging. Well, you can see a machine down there that did a lot of that in a more safer way. There'll be an adaptation of how many jobs does this remove or does significantly impact. and it will definitely be an impact to X number. But it'll impact almost, I think they talked about, and I've seen this, 2/3 of jobs will have to use this as a tool.
Sure.
I know with my 4 children, and what I saw, and because the New York Times did a very good job with 5 separate articles on this. Bill Gates has written pretty extensively about the impact it will have to the healthcare and to education. I know KVEC, Kentucky Valley Education Cooperative, is spending some time with their superintendents going over this. I do think it needs to be on superintendent's radar screen. Obviously, we'll be talking about this in 2 weeks at the Kentucky Digital Summit, but something to get on your radar screen. Now, obviously, when you see some of the things that it does, being a former military officer, it gives me pause how fast it can do certain things, and in the wrong hands, what that may mean. But I bring myself back to the K-12 setting. Definitely can do some great things for a teacher's aid. Can it be used for mischief by students? Absolutely.
I think as we continue to push forward and embrace artificial intelligence in ways that we can interface. Like I said, the average person interfacing with artificial intelligence in ways that are helpful as we embrace and become empowered. I think the human side of that is, we're seeing now the critical thinking that's involved in advanced prompting.
Right.
Like, how do I get out of
Right.
the machine? Well, it takes the critical thinking skills.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
Yep.
I think it's also from an education perspective or a learning perspective, it's really pushing faster towards what we know is exciting already, which is learners demonstrating things that they, live, product-based, project-based, challenge-based demonstrations, which can be aided by artificial intelligence at times.
Yeah.
But it's that demonstration that is the skill set that we're after.
Yeah.
And so it helps push that gas pedal.
They did a good article about in the health industry, for example, trying to understand the breakout of DNA for methods to identify some solutions of folks, that issues that they're having. And the breakout of DNA can occur so much faster through this. And so there's great possibilities, as Bill Gates, in the health industry and also the education industry going forward. But not in-depth conversation, but you're going to hear that. It's kind of like probably in the early days of the computers. Bill Gates said this is the biggest thing that's happened in 40 years. Those that are around this are saying this is one of those things you got to keep an eye on, and it's going to happen much faster. Our oldest son's in the military, obviously will impact him. Our oldest daughter is a teacher.
Yep.
My youngest daughter is a bioscientist in Cincinnati, will affect her work. And my youngest son is in multimedia productions and videography. They'll definitely affect his world. And so as a dad, I'm trying to get them ready for this, and definitely you'll start impacting people much older than that as well.
So your coaching point for all of us as EdTech leaders is become an expert as best you can in AI right now, with the interfaces that are available, with the integrations and the systems that we already use. Become an expert the best that we can, and how AI empowers that work.
Yeah, and I think Bob Hackworth in our internal discussions gave a good example, is get on and create an account for yourself. Now I know, and Chuck, you were talking about this earlier, when I try to use my personal email account, it says, I can't do it. What I use my educational account, it was immediate. Now I do education related things, not personal things related on it. But
and you're talking about Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. So just give a feel for it, and like I say, one of the prompts is give it 4 words and say finish the story, and you'll see it. Or give it a situation that you want to write something to someone. Obviously, I think about one practical application in schools is grant writing. Is having been part of the Department of Education, for over 30 years, the districts that had grant writers definitely had advantage over districts that did not when it's going to grants. This can become a great aid. And those that were applying for grants, it was, a job on top of a job instead of a full-time job. My mom wrote grants on top of a job. And so this can help you write grants. Now you got to fine tune it. So I gave it like I was trying to write a technology grant. And I gave it some parameters in Chat GPT, and it gave me a pretty good start. Now it wasn't perfect. I said, well, I got to change that part. We got to change that part and change that part, but got me pretty well down the line.
Awesome.
Okay. So I don't know if we'll go soapbox once again. I want to pause here, see if anything's coming up on that or on our chat. Okay. Last item is for this, before we go to other items, is the area technology centers. For the first time, we have the technology inventory for area technology centers. Been trying for a long time to get that one. Out of all the components of the Kentucky Education Technology System, that's the only one we didn't have, and now we have it. And it's the first version of it, right? It's the first go, and there's some quality assurance of the data that we need to take a look at. There was one district I looked at that their district overall had a very low percentage of students that didn't have internet beyond the school campus, but yet in this report for the ATC in that district, it had like 98% did not have it. So there's a quality assurance effort there of someone put a number in and basically said,
Obviously read the question wrong.
or something in that regard that needs to be cleaned up. So our next step is I'm going to meet with Beth Hargis, who's my associate commissioner of the equivalent, C-level equivalent in the department, and her staff to go over the results of what were the results that meant to them? How did it stand out to them? What were the most meaningful data that they have? I can tell you during the pandemic, there were data elements on there that they didn't know that they wish they know. David Horstman, which is Beth's predecessor, during the pandemic, he had no feel for what they had and what type of equipment, as far as the kind of things we have in KETS in totality across the stadium for the ATC, and how many students had and didn't have internet beyond the school campus. And so obviously we hope we don't repeat a pandemic anytime soon, but there'll be variations of that, of them wanting to know that. So I want you to know we've collected it, and at some point we'll share that with you, because I think, what we saw in there is, I don't know what the number is half the districts included it in what we see the digital readiness, half did not.
It was pretty close to half.
So the part is, you may be interested in the ones that it's not included, what their numbers are there. And I know we saw some differences in just the brand of computers, right?
Yeah.
The footprint of computers when you have them in ATC versus in a school building that we'll be sharing. Anything else that we talked yesterday about this that pops out?
No, I think just steps forward. Looking forward to, as the process has been developed, it's obviously very comfortable and similar to the district wide.
Right.
This is a school specific collection, if you think about it that way. And so, just progressing that forward to year 2 and getting that data quality where it needs to be is good.
The other thing we have, and just others before we go to our closed session here, on chats in particular, we're going to focus in on how you address your chats with Microsoft Chats and Google Meet. So that's let's talk about just the 2 things in here. The master plan, the KETS master plan, it's our intention of presenting the 2025 to 2030 addition to the Kentucky Board of Education in August. It takes about 9 months for it to go through the entire process. All the weekends it's got to go through. So we're starting it in the August timeframe. It has to be in place before July of 2024. So that's why we're starting it out early. Portable connectivity program, having some success with that. I always say we got try to do what Georgia's doing. We're beating Georgia in that area.
Yep. So the affordable connectivity program is definitely a federal program that we will continue to talk about over the next several months, but also continue to do work with you on how to make it more efficient for your families. This is not a program that districts can apply for and lead. This is a program that funds internet, broadband, effectively, for families and homes and parents, for students that are in our schools. And so we're very excited to continue to work this federal program. It does have sustainable funding associated with it, which is another reason why we want to continue to market and make it more efficient. The federal government has announced that they're streamlining the application process for parents, which is exciting. That was feedback that we gave months and months ago. So there are additional options, and one of the options that we want to work, as of right now, we are one of the national leaders with right under 40% participation of all students who are eligible for ACP, or the Affordable Connectivity Program. So 40% participating students across Kentucky. We have a target, and I'll go ahead and say that target right now, we want to target around 70% by the end of next school year. 70% is is pretty high, but we think it's doable, and we think that if we can help build some efficiencies, then it's absolutely a target that we can achieve. And so, working with Dee Dee and our team with Infinite Campus, we are helping put some processes in place that you will be able to run some communication efforts through Infinite Campus. The instructions are, we got to look at them yesterday. The instructions are very straightforward and very simple to push out a very necessary component for parents, which is the eligibility letter. So we already have a question in Go Soapbox that was asked about ACP, about the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is which students are eligible. The nice part about this program is that any student who is in a CEP school is eligible to receive this funding, which is $30 per month from the federal government for internet connectivity beyond the school campus. As you know, we've always cared about connectivity beyond the school campus. We've cared about connectivity at home. We know that students who have internet access away from school have an extreme advantage over those who do not. And so this program is perfect for us to continue to push on and help achieve, this target that is well above the current national average. But we think it'll be helpful. We know that the biggest reason that students do not have internet access when they leave our campuses is affordability. It's not availability. We do know that there are some locations who have an availability concern or problem, and that needs to continue to be worked on. The governor's office is continuing to work those channels as well. But affordability is the area that we know needs the most attention and most focus. This program being sustained through funding at the federal level is perfect for us to jump on and help out with for parents and homes. And so getting these instructions out as quickly as possible. We'll be also publishing some information on the KD website about the Affordable Care or Affordable Connectivity Program, which is, I know that's we've slipped on there. So which is important for us. And so once these instructions come out for each district to run the process to identify your CEP programs, to push the eligibility letter to parents so that they have, one or two tap access to that eligibility letter so that they can complete the federal application to again streamline it. So thank you. And we'll continue to hit on this topic, I think, over the next several months.
If you could, we didn't hit on 4 Go Soapbox responses. Just I wanted to make sure Bob Hackworth, I think he created these. We delayed them for a bit, so I'd be interested in seeing what the results of those are. Right, Bob?
Thank you, David. And I appreciate whoever's Marty for pulling those up. I won't take much time here, but I did want to talk about 3 of these or 4 of these. Question number 2, have you joined the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, or MSISAC? It's free, and they provide a ton of information about security, and you as a district can join it. KD has been a member of this for a while. Our Commonwealth Office of Technology has been a member. I know we have a few districts who have joined. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail here today, but I encourage all of our regional groups to invite Mr. Colin Glover to come and talk to you about MSISAC. He is our kind of our connection to CISA, the group that runs this. What I will say is that you can find tons of great training materials on here. Even if you never join any of their monthly calls, if you sign up for some of their newsletters, you will get a wealth of security information, things that you can kind of blend into your district and what you're doing. It's helpful if you've got folks to kind of go in here and work with this in your district. But if you're even just a one-person show, you're going to find some information here that's going to help you immensely in your district and kind of keep you up front with things that are happening and things in security that are coming down the line. So I think that MSISAC, because it's free, it is a huge bargain, and there's a ton of bang for the buck here for you to go in there and start kind of perusing it. Let's kind of move on to the next one if we could. Number 3, please indicate which percentage group you currently fall in regarding your rollout of SSO, SSPR, and MFA for adult staff in your district. And so I think questions 3 and 4 kind of work together really well. And I'm glad to see that, we've got a lot of folks in that 90 to 100% range. We've still got some folks in the lower ranges. And so obviously we need to work with that. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because as our support with Microsoft with the security baseline project, which this relates to, kind of falls away as we move out of that project, then we need to kind of figure out what we here at KDE can do to kind of help districts that need a little more assistance, get to the finish line with a security baseline project. And so that's really important. So let's go ahead and move back to the event here. And item number 4 tags along right with number 3. Do you expect you will miss the target of June 30th? And we've got 14% saying yes. And so those are the folks that I really want to kind of target and try to see if there's anything we can do to kind of help with this. And so I'll be working with the KEs and we'll try to figure that out, as well as Chuck Austin, whatever we can do with Microsoft. I want to make sure we do whatever it takes to get folks over that finish line. And then the last item that I have, number 5, I'm going to very quickly go here and say, have you begun assembling your district security health check for your local Board of Education? This is that thing for the folks who are new on here, the new CIOs, if we've got any of those. Every year annually by August, you don't have to wait till August, but by August, you have to present some information to your local board, KDE. We have to do that with our Kentucky Board of Education and kind of let them know how security is going in your district. And I send out annually a cheat sheet of things that you can put on there. I mentioned it at the KISTI show. I'm going to be providing that information along with the KISTI presentation this week. I've just been putting that together. And so don't forget to get started on that. The sooner you get started, the sooner you can get it done. You don't have to wait till August. You can provide it any time, but August is the deadline. And I did want to also say we've been getting a lot of questions about cyber insurance. Again, it's that year. So if you're filling out your cyber insurance forms, a lot of the information you're using in your cyber insurance forms could go into your district security health check. So no need to recreate that wheel, or as my grandma would say, you don't want to lick that calf twice. And so just do that once. So, okay, with that, I am going to sign off.
Okay.
And thank you all very much.
Thanks for that, Bob.
Yep.
David, real quick, the other, we've had 48 responses on the final question that we asked about ACP, and really great to see. And it's evident, right? Because we have, that participation percentage that we consider low, but it's still leading the country. 59% are already working, and then 14% are planning too soon, and that's great. So the 27% that have indicated that they've not started, then that's where we want to help. We want to provide more resources and more energy towards.
It's billions of dollars that goes to somebody else if we don't, if our low-income parents don't use it. Well, thanks for joining us. We are going to what?
We got one great question. Well, there's 1,000 great comments and questions on the soapbox.
Okay.
But there was one that came in from William Pierce from Jefferson County.
Okay.
And it's in regarding to our temporary suspension, of our workstation product standards. And the question was, should we expect this information to be shared through other communication avenues, Dr. Glass, finance, etc., or will IT or technology be the main communicator on this update within districts and ability to personalize the message? I think what our EdTech leaders are asking, David, is can they be the ones that message this and somewhat control and manage the message?
Yeah. What you're saying, there's nothing else that's going to come out besides we do a summary of the webcast. So you'll see that documented where we talk about it in there. But there's nothing else that's going to come out.
Well, and it's a great question because a lot of the comments that are being made, our EdTech leaders, as we know, are very savvy, they're very wise, and they're already thinking through, okay, how do we ensure that we continue with standards and consistency and things like this?
Sure. You'll be driving the message, and if someone says, "Can you show me where it says I can do that?" Obviously, this webcast is made available very quickly. Just the video form, it's usually the same day or the next day. But obviously, in writing, we do a summary notes as you all see, and this will be in the summary notes. Right. We talk about it.
Yep.
Right. Anything else that percolated up? Necessary? Okay. So at this point, we're going to have a closed session to talk about chats. How do you handle chats? How do we handle chats? Just kind of information sharing on there. That's not really appropriate for a audience beyond K-12 districts, because we can see from YouTube that we have an audience that joins us just not from the United States, but beyond the United States. So we don't really know who those are, what their intentions are. At this point, Megan, you can go ahead and stop the YouTube broadcast. Once again, thanks for those to join us that are going to drop off now. Hope to see you tomorrow morning at STOP here at Rupp Arena in the Lexington Central Bank Center.